Finally, Bungie has updated the Guard of Salvation weapons, and man, did they not hold back with these guns. Let me tell you. Ayo, YouTube, chill here. So, after spending absurd hours in Guard of Salvation for red borders, I was finally able to get some of them craftable for some reviews. Sure, I had to sell my soul for some of them, but that'll be fine. Not a big deal. Sorry this video's taking so long to get out. Unfortunately, at the time of the post that I made for weapon review videos of what you guys wanted to see, our capture card went kaputs on us and we were SOL as far as making videos, Chili and I. So we're back now. We're getting back onto it. I know Chili's working on a Velocity Baton video, so just keep an eye out for that. But onto this video. In this video, we're going to talk about the hand cannon Ancient Gospel and why this thing will stand the test of time in all your loadouts. Just looking at the perk pool, there's already some amazing perk options for PvP and PvE, plus a role that has a certain black armory hand cannon once had. Many different options to build this hand cannon how you want it, depending on what you have or don't. So you have a lot of flexibility, a lot of room for customization for PvP depending on your playstyle, and some pretty nasty perks for PvE. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future reviews, and let's get into it. Before we go over stats of the weapon, we need to talk about the origin trait on the Garden weapons. The origin trait is called Photo Inhibition. Weapons deal bonus damage to combatant shields and targets with overshield. Breaking a combatant shield disorients them. Breaking a energy matched shield also disorients nearby enemies. This origin trait is a combination of shield disorient and under over for free. This basically makes it one of, if not the best origin trait ever made for PvE and PvP. Just for breaking a combatant shield, they become disoriented for 7 seconds, similar to getting hit to a blinding nade GL, and cannot do anything. That already in itself makes it invaluable for PvE from low tier all the way up to the end game high end content. Not even including the fact that if it's a matching shield, it makes an AoE disorienting blast hitting even more enemies, similar to like blinding effects with primaries on Arc subclasses. Super powerful perk that launches these Garden weapons into A tier, if not S tier. Again, that's my opinion. Let me know what y'all think. Unfortunately, that part of the perk doesn't work in PvP, but the overshield bonus damage does. Now, this being a 140 hand cannon, it does 80 damage to the head at base. However, when damaging a Titan getting overshield from Bastion or a Warlock in the Rift, the precision damage goes up to 92 per crit, essentially letting you 3-tap them still, even with their increased health and constant regen. Think about that for a second. You can punish anyone using overshield spam or spamming rifts from just the origin trait by itself. You render any Warlock useless in their Rift, they cannot survive it anytime with their Bastion shield. There is a weird timing with it between bullets, but it can get the 3-tap and render their Bastion shield useless. Now do you see why these weapons are going to rise to the top of the meta list? You might not see it now, but they'll get there. That's not including the perks that can roll on these weapons being some of the best meta options ever, especially some new ones. But let's talk about the stat comparison between similar weapons to Ancient Gospel. So, going over the stats of Ancient Gospel relative to our other beloved Energy 140 hand cannons, it appears pretty average in terms of stats. However, 2 of the hand cannons in this list shown can no longer be obtained in the loot pool anymore. They were pushed out several seasons ago with no sign of them ever coming back, so we cannot use them in this list to compare unless you've saved them after they were sunset. Nation of Beasts from Last Wish is completely outclassed in every stat except reload speed, so Ancient Gospel already has a leg up compared to it. Zali's Bane is pretty close in terms of stats compared to Ancient Gospel, but we already know that Zali's is purely a PvE hand cannon and is pretty much useless in PvP due to its massive gun model obscuring your field of view, so it's kind of bad to use, it feels bad to use, but again, that hasn't stopped some people in PvP using it. Not hating on anyone that does, but looking at the facts, that's kind of why people don't tend to use it in PvP. Waking Vigil is still stuck with its 150 stats and lackluster perk pool, pretty much rendering it obsolete when compared to the other hand cannons. I mean, people have tried using it, people try to make it work, and they just haven't given it enough love. Hopefully Bungie gives it the proper buff soon rather than later, but the way I see it, nothing's going to happen soon to it. That only leaves Luna's Howl and Apoco integration that directly outclass Ancient Gospel in the stat category. Luna's Howl has better reload speed, airborne effectiveness, and aim assistance, whereas Apoco integration has slightly more range, stability, and handling. However, this is just the flat stat values. We all know that perks are what make or break weapons in their stat value category, so we can't take it at face value, especially some of these new perks in the loot pool. They can definitely juice up Ancient Gospel and far outstat all the hand cannons that we have in the meta right now. Looking over the perks it can roll, already you can see some monstrous combinations. Going over perks for PvE, in the third column we have Rapid Hit for nice reload and stability buffs for landing precision shots. Tried and True, can never go wrong with that perk. It's always nice to have, you know, just a nice cushion perk just for being consistent in your headshots, so can never go wrong with that. Demolitionist rolls in the third column for this hand cannon for 10% grenade energy for every kill, 11% when enhanced, Always a good option for grenade builds, especially when stacked with Devour Warlocks for near infinite grenade uptime. Plus, with demo rolled in the third column, it does allow it to be paired with a damage perk alongside it. So it's really nice, really does help out juice it. So really good option. The stabilizing rounds is a play for making nearby enemies volatile whenever you get a kill. It's nice, however, some people don't generally like it because it has a 3-second cooldown between volatile bursts that kind of hinders it, but it can be reduced slightly to 2.5 seconds when enhanced. So it does have a little bit of play. Keep in mind of that perk. Then we have Rampage as the last good perk for PvE. He has been vastly outshined in the PvE meta as a damage perk ever since the introduction of like Frenzy and other damage perks that offer more additional benefits other than just a damage buff. But since it's in the third column as well, we can pair another damage perk with it to stack and get even better damage with our weapon. In the fourth column, we have Swashbuckler for a scaling damage buff up to a 33% increase. Always nice to use with melee builds for getting max stacks with one melee kill and keeping it up at all times. Really nice. However, with non-melee builds, you're not going to see much returns out of it. So just keep that in mind. Focus this perk option with melee builds. Now, the last two perks are what make this weapon a monster in PvE when combined with the third column perks. Firstly, we have Explosive Payload. Explosive Payload is a very strong perk in PvE because it just gives an overall 50% increase to your damage for nothing. Really good, always been a top tier option. Since half your damage is split into the explosive, it doesn't fall victim to damage falloff. It allows you to shoot out of your range band and do considerable damage still at any distance. So really nice, really good, especially in PvP. Then finally, we have Kill Clip for a nice 25% increase to damage whenever you reload after a kill. Ever since Bungie allowed Kill Clip to be refreshed, it now allows it to be a strong perk for kill chaining in PvE. With that being said, there's two perk pairings that will make it very dominant in PvE. I'm sure some of you OGs can already see the perk pairing staring you right in the face this entire time, but bear with me. See this hand cannon? This hand cannon you see is Kindled Orchid from the Black Armory days. Shout out to you if you were in that time period. At that time, it was the only weapon ever to roll the combination of Kill Clip and Rampage together, making it one of, if not the best PvE hand cannons of that era. Unfortunately, Bungie sunset these weapons a long time ago, causing people to delete the rolls they had, thinking they would never come back or we could never use them. But we all know what happened with Final Shape when it released and they sunsetting, meaning many people lost out on the weapons that they had already had, the god rolls they were holding on to, all gone now. So this roll here that you see I kept for a long time. I took this roll through my entire playthrough of the Legendary campaign when it dropped, and it chunked down majors and destroyed red bars in one shot when the damage stack started rolling. With a 33% increase from Rampage and 25% increase from Kill Clip, that's a theoretical 58% increase to your overall damage, making it very, very lethal. And because in PvE, it's not hard to kill enemies, you can always have consistent uptime. The only thing holding it back is that people didn't have it or they got rid of it, and it didn't have an origin trait and it couldn't be enhanced to increase the timers. Now with Ancient Gospel having this role and being craftable with an origin trait, this weapon will officially never leave my inventory. Now I know what you might be thinking, oh, but it doesn't have a reload perk and everything. You can really stack up the stats of the reload and make it super beneficial and super nice. I know that's a big thing that made Kindle Orchid very good, is that the fact that it had drop mags, so you can get the fast reloads, but you can already stack up the reload pretty high so it doesn't feel too bad. And plus the enhancement to increase the timers, it lets you have more opportunities to take advantage of both stacks together. The combat loop is so much fun and is so satisfying that I can't help but use it as my main primary in PvE. Really nice, such a good time. It rewards me for slaying out, so that's why I generally like it as my favorite role. However, if that one isn't your playstyle, there is another role of an explosive volatile variety. That role is the stabilizing round and explosive payload. Quick comparison for context. For those of you that have crafted or gone to Zali's Bane, you all are already aware that the role of explosive payload and incandescent made it the king of solar hand cannons in terms of ad clear. The combination of damage increase from explosive payload and scorch damage from incandescent allowed it to clear ads in seconds, on top of chances to create ignitions for even better ad clearing, firmly cementing it as one of the best PvE hand cannons to ever exist in the meta, and is still one of the top tier hand cannons to ever exist. Now, Ancient Gospel offers the void version of this powerful combo. Bear with me. Simply get a kill to cause a volatile cloud to burst out, making everything around that target volatile, and simply kill them or meet the damage threshold to make them burst to deal damage in an AoE around them. This perk combo also has the added benefit of building off of the Void Kit and Verbs. Titans will see the most benefit with Controlled Demolitionist, allowing you and your team to heal whenever you destroy volatile targets or cause them to explode, but any Void class can take advantage of it with Echo of Cessation for creating Void Breaches when defeating volatile targets, combined with Echo of Starvation to keep you Devour at all times. But if you want to make it even better at ad clearing, simply add the fragment Echo of Expulsion. Since Volatile is a Void ability, any targets killed by the explosion do a secondary Void explosion, that'll clear up any remaining ads that survive the initial void explosion. It's not a volatile explosion in and of itself, it's a separate void detonation. Plus, any targets defeated with that void explosion can also trigger another void explosion for massive chains of clearing ads. So just having these 3 fragments together allows you to have massive ad clear, build void breaches, and gain Devour to regain health for every volatile defeat, and build grenade energy with just your primary. I don't know about you all, but this makes it a must for all future void builds going forward. Definitely secure this role. Moving on to the PvP section, there's a lot of good choices for perks, plus new ones that have been making a name in the meta. I'm sure you know which ones I'm talking about. Starting in the third column, we have Rapid Hit. Rapid Hit, again, a good play for PvP since it has a nice stat bump to stability for consistent shots when landing crits. I mean, it's not as good as it used to be ever since it got that nerf way back when, but it's still a very good perk to use. But there's 2 perks that I think far outclass it. One of those perks being Eye of the Storm, which also helps out when you're in gunfights since you always take damage in engagements. Once you get to half health, you start getting a scalar buff to your handling and aim assist coinciding growth, basically meaning that Eye of the Storm makes your aim assist stronger for taking hits, allowing for more consistent shots to counteract flinch. Truly the king perk for dueling on any weapon you get. Many people count it out, but trust me, once you've used this perk, you'll understand the strength of it. However, this other perk stands to compete with Eye of the Storm as the new king. Of course, I'm talking about Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf is a new perk added this episode that adds a flat +10 to airborne effectiveness, aim assistance, and an ADS scalar just for having the perk. When not surrounded by allies, the buff is doubled to your stats. The initial buff is kind of nice and helps out with snappiness, but when at max buff, you can really feel that ADS scalar and buff to the aim assist and AE. Like, it damn near feels like OG Snapshot, but better. This perk definitely is going to be a top tier perk in PvP, if not the best. Just having this perk at the max 20 aim assist buff and adding a single targeting mod, you're sitting at 100 aim assistance on top of the ADS scalars from the targeting mods and the perk itself. It ends up making this weapon feel very, very snappy and consistent for any engagement you take. Going over the 4th column, Harmony, I don't really see it as a play since it doesn't shift the TTK of the weapon at all or offer forgiveness on the TTK itself, so I don't recommend it. It's still a 3-tap to the head, not worth it. Swashbuckler, however, does allow forgiveness at max stacks, letting you 2-head 1 body any guardian at any resilience value. However, the catch is you need to get a melee kill with the weapon out to get the max stacks effectively, so that is up to player preference. If you have a nice melee build, pair with that. An interesting perk that is here is To the Pain. This perk, introduced last season, gives an aim assist and handling buff stack whenever taking damage. The amount of stacks you gain depends on the damage source you take, but will still help out in your engagements. This perk is interesting combined with Eye of the Storm from the 3rd column. Considering that both perks trigger from receiving damage, you'll be getting the buff to handling and aim assist coincides and growth on top of the handling and aim assist buff from To the Pain. It definitely lends this gun to be a very strong dueler in 3v3s, however, it does have a drawback of losing your stacks whenever you stow the weapon. So, if you decide to go with this perk combination, you essentially have to main the weapon to take advantage of the perk to the fullest. Then, we have a new perk this episode called Closing Time, which adds range, handling, and aim assist the lower you get in the mag size. Works similar to Under Pressure, giving you the stat bump starting at 50% of the mag and scaling up all the way till the mag is empty. I mean, you can pair it with Eye of the Storm, but due to it taking 3 bullets to get a kill and Ancient Gospel having a 10 mag size, you'll only really see it in 1v2 situations, and more often than not, you might get team shot, you might get eliminated, so not really a good play in my opinion. What I am excited for, though, is that it has Rangefinder. For context, I personally hated old school Rangefinder before it got nerfed. Something about it always made my shots too inconsistent. It was just too jarring to use. Never felt like my shots could land. Sometimes I just got ghost bullets. I don't know what it was. I just never liked it personally. But ever since the nerf, it's been a dream for pushing out zoom in range. I don't know what it is. Now, I know some people are looking at me crazy, but trust me when I say it's still a worthwhile perk. Because of the enhanced zoom on the weapon, it reduces visual flinch received to you and helps out with consistency of shots for your engagement. It's a hill I'm willing to die on, so comments, don't roast me. Explosive Payload can be used in PvP for landing damage at any distance, but if you really want to use that perk, you're better off just using Rose. That's kind of its identity with Slide Shot and Explosive Payload, so that's my opinion, but again, you can always use it on this weapon still. Then Kill Clip is nice for a little forgiveness to allow a body shot, but not much other than that, unless paired with Rampage. Rampage and Kill Clip at ×1 has the potential to 2-tap Guardians at 6 resilience or lower for a 0.43 TTK. Now, bear with me. While this does seem OP, don't fall to the hype. As someone who loves this combo, I can tell you firsthand that you won't be able to take full advantage of this combo, especially with multiple quick heal options being in play often in PvP on top of the short time frame you have to take advantage of it. Luckily, the Origin trait grants extra damage to overshields and rips, so it does help out with that regard, but I still don't think it's worth it in my opinion for PvP. Don't get me wrong, it's very satisfying when it does happen, but the likelihood of it happening is not often enough to warrant it over consistency perks for dueling. So my god rolls for PvP would be either Eye of the Storm with To the Pain or Lone Wolf with Rangefinder. These two choices allow it to be a very strong dueling hand cannon that will add benefits whenever taking damage or when taking engagements alone. While I personally don't like the Eye of the Storm To the Pain roll, I cannot deny that the perk combination is insanely strong for consistent dueling. But to me, my favorite role is Lone Wolf and Rangefinder for max aim assist combined with targeting mods, snappy aiming, and pushing out the range. It already has proven itself to be reliable and has cemented itself as one of my favorite hand cannons of all time. If you don't believe me, look at this. This is my first game with the Lone Wolf Rangefinder combination roll. Got a wee ran out of the metals, 22 KDA. This thing is a beast. It already has proven itself to be reliable and has cemented itself as one of my favorite hand cannons of all time. But let me know what you think. Are you going to be building the Void Synergy combo for Void Explosions or the Kill Clip Rampage roll for massive damage in PvE? What about PvP? You're going to be building the Eye of the Storm To the Pain roll for benefits while dueling, or maybe the Lone Wolf Rangefinder roll for aim assist and consistent buffs at all times? Let me know down in the comments. I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe, as this video has taken several days doing all the research for this weapon, not including the farming I had to do for it. Also, consider stopping by our Twitch streams where you can catch me or Chili streaming some Destiny or just doing some other stuff randomly. Let us know what's the next weapon you want to see us review. Appreciate y'all, and I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, keep it chill.